it's Platt, and today we find out if two great tastes taste great together. That's next to Platt's Drink of the Week. Okay guys, we're going to keep up with the holiday theme here. I've got something I found very interesting in the liquor store the other day, and it is Kings Creek Tennessee Whiskey Cider. I purchased this particular bottle for $16.99, and it comes in at 30 proof or 15% alcohol by volume. Now let's jump in here and read the label and see what we've got. We've got Kings Creek Black Label. I guess that is their kind of flagship brand. And anyway, Kings Creek Black Label Tennessee Whiskey Cider claims it's small batch, a seasonal blend. On the bottom it says handmade with care. I appreciate it, guys. And we read a little bit more and it says King Creek's Black Label Whiskey blended with natural apple cider flavor and caramel color. Let's jump into that a little bit. First, Kings Creek, as I see on the side of the label, is bottled by Universal Brands, Princeton, Minnesota. That's right. These are the same folks that gave us Scatterbrain, the peanut butter holiday nog we tried earlier. So as we learned last week, their parent company is United States Distilling Products. They do a lot of private label kind of stuff. Besides Scatterbrain, they also do the UV vodka, and I think LaRue, cordials, just to name a few. Let's jump into exactly what we got in here. First, Kings Creek Black Label Tennessee Whiskey. If it's a Tennessee whiskey and it's got a black label, it's obviously competing with or, trying to get market share from Jack Daniels. So it's kind of their take on Jack Daniels. That's the base spirit in here. Now, what we learned last week, about Universal Products, they're based in Princeton, Minnesota. This claims to be a Tennessee whiskey. They're not making Tennessee whiskey in Minnesota, which means this is a sourced product. Now, Jack Daniels is the most prominent Tennessee whiskey maker. I don't think they do any kind of contract work, so it's probably not Jack Daniels in the bottle. Now, the number 2 Tennessee whiskey is George Dickel, and they do some contract work, so there is at least an outside chance this could be some Dickel in there. I do know there's other distilleries in Tennessee that produce a Tennessee whiskey or something that can be legally called a Tennessee whiskey, which let's jump into that real quick. This right here, because it says a Tennessee whiskey, means obviously it's made in Tennessee. Tennessee whiskey is basically a bourbon. They follow some of the same rules, at least 51% corn in the mash bill, no higher than 160 proof off the still, no higher than 125 proof going into the barrel. And so it is, at heart, it is a bourbon. Tennessee whiskeys are. Now, where they differ themselves from their neighbors up north in Kentucky is they utilize something called the Lincoln County process. It's a charcoal filtration. Now, the Tennessee whiskey makers have claimed that this really helps smooth out the whiskey. It makes a smoother product than the folks up north in Kentucky. I don't want to get in that battle. Well, that is the selling point behind it. This goes through that process too. Also, they do note when you find the Kings Creek Black Label, it is a sour mash whiskey too. Now, what does that mean? Sour mash is a process where you take spent grains from a previous fermentation and put a little bit of that into the next fermentation. This does a couple of different things. A, it helps with consistency between batches, and B, it helps with the pH level for the next mash. So that's what, if you hear the term sour mash, that's what that means. So this is also a sour mash Tennessee whiskey. So that's what we've got here in the bottle. Now, as far as King Creek goes, like I said, it's just a private brand. They sell generally at Total Wine and Spirits. I don't know if it's an exclusive thing, 100% exclusive. That's where I found this bottle, though, was at a Total Wine. Next, let's get to the other aspect, the apple cider. First, let's clear up a little language because it does kind of get confusing. Some of these terms kind of intermingle. There's apple cider, there's hard apple cider, then there's apple juice, and then apple cider vinegar. So let's clear these up. Apple cider is basically just pressed apples. You physically crush or press apples, and then whatever juice runs out, That's apple cider. It's not filtered, it's not sweetened, and some of it that's sold is not even pasteurized. Now, if you take that juice, though, and filter it, sweeten it, pasteurize it up, that's generally commercial apple juice that we see on store shelves. If you take either one of those and ferment them and turn them into some alcohol, that is hard cider or hard apple cider. Now, if you let that hard apple cider go through something called acidification, it turns into vinegar, apple cider vinegar. So that's kind of what all these are. What we have in here, though, is none of them. Because as we read on the label, it says made with natural apple cider flavor. So they're not throwing in probably any real cider. Probably what's gone on here is they've purchased flavor. Now, I've talked about this in other videos where spirit companies or any kind of alcoholic beverage companies can go to these flavor companies and just buy whatever flavor. If you want to make a chocolate chip cookie whiskey, you can buy chocolate chip cookie flavor, whatever. So they've probably just bought apple cider flavor for this particular product. A little history on apple cider. Apple cider's first mention historically was in 55 BC when Julius Caesar and the Roman armies invaded England. They found the locals were drinking this fermented apple beverage, and they kind of liked it. If you ferment apple juice, cider, what have you, and then distill it, that becomes an apple brandy. Here in the U.S., we have Apple Jack, which was a specific kind of U.S. only thing made originally through freeze distillation, which is kind of interesting. In France, they make something called Calvados, which is a high-end French apple brandy that is really quite excellent if you're into brandies and like that. So with that being said, so we're gonna taste and see how Tennessee whiskey and apple cider flavors really do work together. Let's go ahead and jump in the bottle. Like I said, this is at 15 proof, or 15% alcohol by volume, so it's going to be kind of like a strong wine. All right. Oh, I can already smell. I can smell the apple already from here, and it does smell like an apple Jolly Rancher, kind of that generic green apple nose that you'd get on maybe an apple, a sour apple candy or sour apple juice drink or whatever. All right. Now on the nose, now that I get my nose closer, though, I start getting the whiskey. Now the whiskey becomes more predominant the closer I got to it. The further out, though, I got that green apple. All right, now I'm very interested. It's clear. It looks like kind of a generic store-bought whiskey as far as color. Maybe a little darker than some. Thank you, caramel coloring. All right, let's go ahead and dive in. Boy, I don't know what to say. I got more of the whiskey on the... Oh, there's the burn. All right, a little burn coming in there. Again, from far out, I got the green apple. When I got my nose closer, I got the whiskey. When I drink it, it's not really either. I do get... Now I get a more classic red apple, kind of what we would think of apple cider kind of flavor on it. It's not the green apple. Now it's more of a red apple. There's a faint hint of something that might be some kind of cinnamon, nutmeg, spice kind of in the back. If you're creating an apple cider flavor, I could see where you would have some kind of hints of it, some kind of spice in there. Because classic, kind of old school, apple cider is one of those things we have kind of a romantic notion of New England and a fresh apple press, and you kind of heat it up and you would throw the cinnamon stick and some clove in there and you would drink it warm on a brisk New England afternoon, kind of thing. You do get just a hint of that in the back end. Man, that sip's kind of nice. It would be interesting to, maybe heat the snifter up and give it a try warm. This sounds like something that might open up a little bit if you drink it warmer. So this might be something, You know, if you're a classic old school brandy guy that likes the warm snifter, maybe give this a try out, a warm snifter. Overall, pretty good drink. I don't know necessarily what else you would do with it. At 30 proof, you're not necessarily using it for cocktails unless you want to utilize it and maybe make your own quote-unquote apple cider martini instead of a straight apple martini, maybe an apple cider martini. You could use it in there however you go about making your apple martinis, whether you use like a citrus vodka or actual apple vodka, whatever. But cocktail-wise, I don't know, besides maybe something like that, what you would do with it. But again, just, you know, at 30 proof, you want to shoot it just for fun, you could. You could drink it, like I said, just sip on it warm. Overall, I think they've got a nice little product here. I don't know if I'm ever going to go out of my way to find it again unless, you know, I'm looking for that apple cider flavor, but I think they do have a neat little idea here. Well, I hope you liked this video. If you did, please subscribe down below. Also, please like the video because it lets YouTube know we're putting out good content. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or things in the liquor store you'd like me to try, please leave them in the comment section, or you can always contact me on the Twitter page. Till next time, bottoms up.